Beginning on Data Podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Odd Dad Out Podcast, the show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. Wait, wrong show. I am your host, as always, Adam Higgins. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Odd Dad Out. This is the show where the world's youngest cranky old shit rambles on aimlessly for however the fuck long he can. Tonight, I wanted to start off with something a little different. I guess you could say it's a segment for once. And tonight, I'm going to start off with corrections, because I actually have some corrections this week. The last week, my wife and I were discussing Leonardo DiCaprio. We were actually talking about how he'd never gotten an Oscar and he had this huge long career. And I mistakenly said he was on... I had it written down. I said he was on Family Ties. No. Yes, I said he was on Family Ties. He was actually on Growing Pains. Not that it really fucking matters, but in the off chance that somewhere Leonardo DiCaprio listens to this show and corrects me and sues or some fucking crazy bullshit. Like, I'm reminded of that episode of Family Guy where Meg wrote something in her high school paper about Luke Perry and he suddenly sued her. Because that would totally happen, right? And on the same note of total misinformation, I also kind of screwed up in a tweet. Okay, I didn't kind of screw up. I really screwed up. I sent out a tweet last week just after, actually on Wednesday when the show went out, and I fucked up. Well, I listened back to the show and realized that in all of my education that I've been doing in podcasting as I've been going through this whole learning curve, I started learning about audio processing and adjusting your sound and doing all these things. And in doing all of that, I started tinkering with the sound and adjusting things, and I basically overprocessed the ever-living crap out of the show for the last 2 weeks and have spent hours fixing it. And I decided, fuck it. I'm just going to go with, I'm going to trim any bullshit that has to come out, and that'll be that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time messing with my sound. What it sounds like is what it sounds like, because I think fundamentally at the end of the day, it's more about what is in the show than necessarily how it sounds. And a lot of people are really going to obsess about sound. And yeah, I need to, but until I have better equipment to record with, I'm not in a position to be nitpicky about how my show sounds. As long as I'm getting it out there. That's the most important thing. Even right now, I am recording in the middle of the night more because home incidences lately have pushed back recording for this week. I normally do this all Sunday night, and I give myself tons of time to work, and I do tons of editing, and I can do the write-up and everything, and I've got plenty of time. It's great. This week, I'm set. I'm there. I want the shows going out on the same day every week, and I've dicked with that a lot in the last couple of weeks, but I think Wednesday's my day, because if I record Sunday, then I've got Monday and Tuesday to do all the rest of the legwork for the show, But, which is what I did last week. Previous weeks, I gave myself all fucking week, and I set the show loose on Friday. The problem with that is, by the time Friday rolls around, a lot of stuff that we talk about is really dated. Like, it's an entire week old when the show comes out. And I just felt like, fuck, it's just been so long since I did this show, I feel weird. So I trimmed that back a little. But now it is officially, right now, Wednesday morning, and I'm recording because of, like I said, house events have kind of pushed things back. But that's another show. That's actually another show. What I'll be getting to later. But back to my tweet, because I totally got derailed, because, I do that. I had been talking about going back and just doing simplistic editing, and I was reminded of an episode of the New Media Show with Todd Cochran and Rob Greenlee, and they mentioned that they don't do any editing. They just record straight off and release the show as is. And I remember Todd Cochran saying, I was like, yeah, I don't do any editing because I like being married. And so I paraphrased that in a tweet, the problem being that I fucked up his name, and I wrote Tom Cochran, and I misspelled Cochran too, but that's an honest mistake. But I totally fucked up his name. I was like, and I put Tom Cochran. He's only the fucking head of Blueberry and Tech Podcast Network and New Media Group and all this. He's only basically one of the fucking triad of guys that basically rule the podcasting industry. It's basically Todd Cochran, Rob Walsh, and Rob Greenlee. Basically, they're it. That's kind of it. It's like they're the guys that have all the experience and basically hold all the dice as far as I'm concerned. Nobody else, like corporate top dog wise, really matters as much as those three guys. But that's just, me and my little podcast-centric rant there. But it was funny that I fucked up his name, and then I went back and corrected it, retweets and comments and shit. But the same day that I post this, he starts following me. Like Rob Greenlee and Tom Cochran both start following me that same night. He retweets the fuck up I made, not the one where I fixed it. I was like, God damn it. I was like, yeah, you're gonna retweet the one where I fuck up your name. Great. But it's nice to have some sort of recognition. And having, guys like that following me on Twitter, it feels good, even though I'm sure they've got thousands of followers and they follow tons of other podcasters and things like this. But for me, it's just a little something, I don't know. 'Cause I don't know, apparently. I don't know, because that's, how rambling works. So, that is corrections. If I had a little musical thing right here for corrections, da 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 da. I don't know why they have lounge music for the correction section, but whatever. So, I was saying, it's like, that's another show. It's another part of why I'm kind of a little behind schedule this week, is that, as you may have noticed, if you listened to the last couple of weeks, my wife has been on the show with me, and it's actually been discussed in the past, my wife joining me on a regular basis. And if you've listened from the beginning, thank you very much for listening from the beginning. I doubt you have. If you're not related to me, I don't see you having gone through the hell that was the first few episodes. But if you have, more power to you. You're awesome. See, I'm totally unprepared. I've got stuff just falling out of my lap here. But in the early days, all of last summer, the original somewhat plan for this show was actually kind of a parenting show, hence the name. Odd Dad Out. It was supposed to have some sort of a dad parental flair to it, which, for all intents and purposes, never panned out. I could never sit here and talk about being a dad. That's just me. I can talk about being a dad to anybody out there. You bring up my kids, I can talk about my fucking kids all day. I can probably do it here all day. But there's, in the realm of me sitting here talking about my kids, in right here, it's just me telling stories, and it's like, I've got tons of fucking stories. And that's another weird thing. It was supposed to be me telling stories because I've got so damn many stories, and me and stuff about my kids and stuff about parenting and all this, and realized that I just wasn't as comfortable doing that sort of thing in this particular instance. But when you put my wife into the equation, we kind of click in that, and a lot of our stories tend to blend together as, our common thing. Is that before we got married, we didn't necessarily know each other for a tremendously long time. We'd been friends for a while, but we didn't know each other for a tremendously long time. So we didn't have a lot of crazy stories like those people who were dating all through high school and did all this crazy shit together and then got married and whatever. We didn't have all those kind of stories. All of our stories, for the most part, happened after we got married. And our adventure in our marriage and all of our children and just the experience of being parents and everything we experience with our kids. And we kind of, and with my wife having done 3 different episodes with me now, she kind of got bit by that podcasting bug. And the idea of us doing a parenting show together, a real parenting show, somewhat, I have to say somewhat, because the show as it's growing is very much like similar to this in the tone, in our humor, because it's still, hey, it's still me and it's still my wife. And if you've listened to the last couple of weeks, you've learned a little bit about my wife and how we are. But what we're doing is actually developing a real parenting show all along our fucked up lines of humor. And, as this show is very much the normal is not my specialty. I don't do things the right way when it comes to this show. I'm 15 shows in and I'm still learning, which is great. You should always be learning, people. Everybody out there, you should be learning. Every day, learn something new. I'm learning something new every day. I learn something new every week when I record. Some days I have notes, some days I don't. This entire show, I think, is essentially just me getting out there to talk and express what the hell's going on in my head. It's me getting to sit in front of an audience that I can't see and just talk, what's going on in my head. It is a radio show. It's a radio show that you can pick up whenever the fuck you want. That's what this is for me. And I cannot remember. I believe it was... There's a lot of guys I listen to now, and I forget who it was, and I want to give him credit for it. He basically said, when you start a podcast, stop trying to make a podcast, air quotes. Don't think about a podcast as he said, a podcast is a method of delivering, that it's a means of communicating and a means of transmitting a show. Don't go out to make a podcast, go out to make a show. And this is basically my personal show. A lot of guys will go out and they'll create a show where it's about a subject, or they'll have an idea and they want to do this thing, and it'll fail. And just, I don't have the listeners I want. I'm trying to get sponsorship, or I just don't have the broad base. It's like, I don't give a shit. Now, do I care about having more listeners? Absolutely. And it's not because, I want to have this hugely popular and famous show. I'm like, would popularity be great? Awesome. Yes, I would love to have 10,000 downloads a week. And every week, I've got people, my email blowing up with comments and questions and things. And if you are so inclined to do that now, in my limited audience, if you guys want to come out and email me questions or whatever, odddadout@gmail.com, have at it. Drop me a line on Twitter or something. Go for it. I would love to hear from anybody. But I'm not in this for this big following. I'm not in this to be some crazy, super popular. I'm not trying to be Serial. I'm not trying to be Nerdist. I'm not trying to be Adam Carolla or Joe Rogan or any of these fucking guys who get millions of downloads a week. I just want to see that little number tick up. If I have one more listen from any given week to the next one, I'm happy. If that number goes up one fucking time, just knowing, and I'm not going to cheat. I will admit I can account for 2 plays every week that I can guarantee I don't count. And that one is me and my wife. And my wife will listen to the show every week, even when she's on it and she complains about it. Even if she's like, oh, I don't like the way I sound this week. Like, can we do it over? Fine. I enjoy having my wife on the show because it's somebody else to talk to. I'm sure you guys enjoy having my wife on the show because it's nice to not just hear my ass the whole fucking time. But I need more, I guess. But again, my goal isn't to be famous or popular or whatever. I just want to see that people are out there listening. And I have been so happy in the last 2 weeks. My numbers have gone through the roof. And for me going through the roof, I'm solid double digits. Holy fuck. The last couple of shows, I've said like, oh, all 17 of you. Well, now I'm almost to 30 people. Like, oh fuck, I've gotten a ton more listeners in the last couple of weeks, which has been great. And I will totally chalk that up to the power of consistency. And I made it a goal at the beginning of the year, and I have to go back. But when I said at the beginning, this is what I want to do this year, I don't want to miss a week. I don't want to miss an episode if I can all avoid it. And so I decided, like, that's why I'm doing this right now. I'm going out and I'm putting out a show tonight, minimum editing. I'm probably going to release this with almost no notes for the time being, and I'll update it later. But right now I just want to get something out to you guys because I promised you a month ago that I was not going to miss a week. And I'm sticking to that promise. And I promised, I'd do shows in the car if I have to. And I've tried it, and after starting working in the studio and doing shows at home, I was like, oh fuck, I just can't. I hate the sound of doing it in the car. And there are limitations to recording in the car on the way home. All the fucking noise. And then I feel bound by that, the drive. It's like, when I get home, I just feel like, oh, I'm home, show's over. Which I shouldn't. I mean, I should be able to go on and on however the hell long I want to. And right now I've got a lot more time available to me to do that. I just want to make sure that I want to, get out there and do the best show I can, And yeah, I'm ranting on about my show, but you don't listen to me for substance. Like, if you listen to me, it's not for substance. You listen to me because it's, for whatever the fuck reason, you seem to think that what I have to say is interesting, even for whatever. And it's like sitting down and having a conversation with me. This is you guys out there in internet land who are downloading this to your phone or your laptop or your iPod or whatever you want to listen to me on. Whatever you are subscribed to this show on, and I highly suggest you subscribe with whatever you're using. Push the little subscribe button so you don't have to look for me every week. You'll just find it. It'll just show up automatically, and you can listen to me rant at your leisure. But you are inviting me into your ear holes to listen to it's like a one-sided conversation. It's kind of it. And you could be sitting there yelling at your phone or yelling at your iPod, I don't know. And it'd be funny as hell. Because I know I do it. I sit there and shout back. I'll listen to a show. Or you'll listen to the radio and you'll hear guys talking about something. And you start yelling back at the radio. Like, fuck no, god damn it. Whatever. Like, of course, he's stupid. Oh my god, that's so fucking dumb. What the hell? And you do it too. And I'm sure you probably... I think about it. I haven't expressed a lot of opinions on the show, but I rant and bitch a lot. And I think that's why I say I'm the youngest crotchety old man you're ever going to meet. Meanwhile, my wife is pointed. I'm also a big Toys R Us kid. If my wife didn't stop me, I'd fucking go toy shopping all the time. But that's just me. I'm 31 and I've successfully not grown up for 31 years. Why the fuck am I going to start now? I'm still very much a crotchety old man though, and it's hilarious. My mom always said, and I was like 10 years old, it's like, you're the oldest 10-year-old I've ever met. He just always said, "Oh, you're such an old soul." Like you, I was like, I've always been an old man, however the fuck old I am. But at the same time, I'm still the guy who's sitting there watching cartoons with his kids because he wants to watch the cartoons, not because he's got kids. I've seen so many, like I was watching cartoons all day before I got married, before I had kids. I was sitting there playing video games and watching cartoons. Not because I was one of those fucking wastoid guys that doesn't do anything and just sits around, drinking beer and playing Call of Duty, because it's totally not my game. And I wasn't one of those, like, uber nerds that obsesses about shit. Like, I knew some of those guys. I'm like, God, no, fucking nerd, go away. But at the same time, I'm a nerd. I am a nerd. But I'm not that kind of fucking nerd. Like I said, I know those kind of nerds. One of those kind of nerds introduced me to my wife. I met some of his nerd friends. I was like, oh, fuck, I thought I was bad. I'm basically that guy who I'm a nerd on the inside. I put out a great front. My wife and I have this amazing ability of putting on this great front and looking like we give a fuck. Or looking way cooler than we are. My wife has certain nerd cred. I will say she's not the book nerd like I am. She's a theater nerd. But at the same time, she's got one big chunk of video game nerd cred that I will never be able to take away from her. And it is this. That while she was pregnant with our oldest son, Charlie, and essentially because she had nothing better to do with her time, she's pregnant and she wasn't in school at the time, sitting at home all day, I'm at work all day, what does she do? Plays Mario Kart Wii. During this pregnancy, she became ranked in the top 20 of all Mario Kart Wii players in the world. Now, yes, this is like 6 years ago. Does that take anything away from it? Fuck no. Like, it also takes away anybody willing to play against her. Not a damn person in our family will race my wife at Mario Kart because they know they're gonna get their ass handed to them. That's just it. Like, she gets all depressed because nobody will race her. Nobody will play against her because of that. Because, yeah, it's been 6 years and we haven't played that game in a while, but she can still smoke everybody. Period. So, yeah, my wife has a little nerd cred. My nerd cred is more about, I know a bunch of bullshit about a bunch of bullshit in comic books and movies and TV and cartoons and video games and all. I'm a multi-purpose nerd. I'm a general purpose nerd. I'm a nerd of all trades or whatever. But that's me. And so, like, I know comic book stuff and I get excited about comic book stuff. I'm excited about the new Batman Superman movie. I'm excited about fucking X-Men Apocalypse. I'm excited about Agent Carter every week. Right now I'm like so fucking excited because Agent Carter just got started back up for this season. And that also means I'm waiting for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I don't watch Flash and all that, the CW, DC stuff, more because I just don't like the way CW handles programming. They make up shit as they go along. But they take something that has established rules and change it. I don't like it. Too teen drama stuff. Tons of people love it. It's great for them. Not my style of superhero, I guess. But that's the whole other thing. I'd say that's another show that's probably not going to happen. I'm probably not going to do a superhero-centric episode. I think my wife would probably kick me if I did something like that. And she might just kick me because, I scooted over too far on her side of the bed. But nevertheless, that's that. But again, I don't do this. I have no plan. Sometimes I've had a plan. The last few weeks I've had a plan. Tonight, I had a plan on the weekend. The problem with that plan was that went into Sunday, went into recording day. And with my wife wanting to do really, like, for the last few weeks, her being on the show with me, she was really excited to get our show going together. And so we took what would have been my recording time for this show, and we kind of did our little, pilot episode for our parenting show together, which was fun. It was great. We had a great time. It's going to be a great show once it really gets launched. And I guess, this show is I have no script, I have no plan, I'm just winging it. This is just a show for me and just to be me and get my thoughts out there. That show is going to be much more of a organized and structured and written out and researched and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's still going to have our free thinking sort of humor and our kind of off sort of stuff and all that, but it's going to be more structured. There'll be segments and things to discuss, and it'll be done right. And that's what I'm doing with this show, and what I've learned through my process learning here is there's a right and a wrong way to do things, but there's also I've learned so much more in doing this show. And because, again, I'm a nerd, so as soon as I got into the idea of podcasting and the idea of creating this thing, I started absorbing every fucking show I could. I started listening to the Audacity podcast and Podcaster Studio and School of Podcasting and Podcast Method and every how-to podcast I could find to learn so much about the show, about how to do this, and what does it take, and different theory and different perspective. And I've absorbed because I'm a fucking sponge. Because I'm I'm a research junkie, and it's one of the, when I get into something, I just fucking obsess about it. When my brain said podcasting, never fucking heard a podcast in my life. Honest to God, never fucking heard a single podcast in my life. And I decided to do it. I was like, I'm going to make a podcast. I don't totally know what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to make a podcast. I'm going to make my own show. And I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to open myself up to the world and express my thoughts about whatever. And just whatever, And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm going to do it. And that's where we are now. And I'm a lot more comfortable doing this now than I was 6 months ago. And what was it? It was July when I officially went on air. So it's been 9 months now. And in 9 months, I've learned a lot. I've researched the fuck out of everything. I've listened to hundreds of podcast episodes about how to do this. I'm still making my own way, and that's the me part of it, I guess, is that at the end of the day, I'm still doing this my way. I'm still making shit up as I go along, but I'm having fun. And like I said, this show is for me. If you want to enjoy it, great. I love that you enjoy it. I love that you come along on this journey with me every week and join in the conversation. Or sit down and listen to the conversation. It's kind of like, a talk radio show where, you don't really, it's like, yeah, you could call in, you could email me, you could text, or I can't really text you, I'm not giving you my phone number right now. It's like, I get enough fucking calls from debt collectors, I don't need listeners calling on my phone and I'm not answering because I don't know who the fuck you are. But Twitter and Facebook and email, email me. Whatever. If you want to email me questions or comments, great. You want to leave comments and reviews on iTunes and Spreaker and Stitcher and wherever you're listening, great. I'd love to hear from you. Totally want feedback. That'd be great. But this is the talk radio type format, I guess. And it's I talk, you listen, you tune in whenever you choose to tune in. Which is it's the great thing about podcasting, is that you can listen to whatever the fuck you want. I stockpile shows because, like I said before, I work overnight, so I have to I start building up shows. I was like, shit, I've listened. It's only Wednesday. I've listened to all of my shows for this week. what the fuck am I going to listen to the rest of the week? I have to start looking for more shows. And the whole obsessiveness of it and getting into this whole industry and this whole thing. I was like, you just dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And once you get bit by that podcast bug, you just keep going and going and going. And that's where I'm at. And I'm getting my wife into it too, with her being on with me and her getting into the development of our show and me kind of laying the groundwork in this show and in our new show, which hopefully in the next few weeks I'm going to get all the details hammered out, music and things like this, and get things really dialed in. I really want to do. But with all of this, as she's getting into it, she's starting to listen to other shows, and I'm getting her into some of the shows that I listen to, and she's getting so excited at getting caught up on things that I've already listened to, and it's been really fun having something else to share with her. Because as much as, yes, we're happily married and all this, but because of our family life, my wife works days, I work nights. Literally, during the week when we're both working, we basically see each other in passing. So us actually having this show is a big it's a big connection. It's something we can do together and enjoy together. And she kind of had this kind of a date night theme going. I was like, no, it's not so much that, but it really is a great together. It's like our weekly date where we get together and sit down in front of the mic and have fun and have these conversations and we're sharing our personal conversations with the world, whereas we don't have a lot of time to do that other times because of work and household responsibilities and just generally taking care of 4 boys. We don't have a lot of time to actually sit down and just talk and have fun and enjoy each other's company. Like when we have our days off, it's like we share one day off a week, and it's typically Sunday we share together. Neither one of us is working. And in that time, that's basically the day where we've got to get all of our bullshit done. This is when we've got to do all the grocery shopping and the house cleaning, and we just get caught up on whatever we have to do, because we really still don't have any together time. So we've kind of gone to that point where that we've dedicated this show as to being kind of our together. And we're basically inviting all of you guys out there to join us and be that and have that thing to share with us and our twisted life and our crazy kids and I think it's going to be a great thing together. I think couples need a thing to share. You need something that keeps things lively. You have to have conversation. You have to be able to talk, and I think that's a big thing that causes a lot of divorces, is that people can't talk. And especially when, they always say that financial issues are one of the biggest things that cause divorce. And I'll admit, we're broke. We live in a pretty good state of broke, but we're not poor. And I heard, and I believe an episode of School of Podcasting where they said that the difference between broke and poor is broke is factual and poor is a state of mind. Poor is an attitude. And yeah, we're broke. You can look at our bank account. We're broke. We just did our taxes. We're broke. Not because we don't have the money from our taxes, but because we know that shit's all been predisposed. Hey, this is going here, this is going there. But we're not poor. We don't have a bad attitude about it. We don't have any sort of poor me, pity me, take pity on me because I don't have any money. We keep on trucking. We keep on keeping on. We do our thing and pay our bills and get up tomorrow and go back to work and do it all over again. And we have a happy life. And you just have to have that communication. You have to be able to share that. But couples that are financially kind of strapped, it creates a lot of hostility. There's lack of communication. You start growing apart because you're never together, or there's always that stress. And in our relationship, we do have financial stress, and we have all these things that, if we were different people, would probably be really causing trouble. We'd probably be fighting over money. We'd probably be stressing out. But we're not those kind of people. But I feel like this show that we're growing into, that we're creating, is going to almost be another aid in stopping that, because it's going to be something where we're just going to be talking, and we're going to have that time together. It's going to be like our date night in front of the microphone every week, where we get to go out there and talk and have fun, because it's so much fun. I encourage anybody who has any interest whatsoever, go out there and pick up a mic and start a podcast. You don't even have to fucking release it. I don't care. That's not my job to make you release your show. There are other people out there who coach this stuff and do that stuff all the time. I'm a guy who sits there and rambles about what's going on in my head for however the fuck long I want. I honestly didn't realize that I could talk. Okay, I knew I could talk for this long. I'm long-winded as all fuck. You guys have learned this by now. But I had nothing to talk about tonight. I really didn't. I didn't think I was going to spend the entire night really talking about myself and the show. But that's what happens when you don't have a plan and you don't have a format or anything like that. I just come out here and have fun. And for me, getting up here and talking on the mic and getting to talk to you guys every week, that's fun for me. Sitting down with my wife in the living room with all my recording equipment stretched out all over the fucking coffee table, that's fun, because we have such a great time and we make each other laugh. It's such a great time getting to sit down with my wife and just be silly. It's such a great thing. I think everybody should do that. Just sit down with your husband, with your wife, whoever, with your kids. Sit down and be silly and have fun. Because that's the stuff that's going to keep you together. That's the stuff that's going to hold your family together. If you can't do that, maybe you're too far gone. Or maybe you just need to keep trying. But I'm a strong proponent of the healing power of laughter. I think laughter is one of the greatest things you can give to anybody. I intend for this show to be funny. Sometimes it's not. I don't think tonight's especially funny. Then again, I'm a dick. So sometimes I find myself funny. Sometimes I think I'm just an asshole. I'm usually an asshole, but that's me. Like I've been a professional asshole for most of my life, card carrying, damn it. But I'm not mean, I guess. I don't mean harm. And I could be a total dick and I could sit there and put you down every damn day, but I never maliciously insult somebody. I could sit there and say Donald Trump is a fucking moron. Okay, there's probably a little bit of malice in that, but I mean no harm towards Donald Trump. I think he's a fucking moron, but I mean no harm towards the guy. I think most people are fucking stupid. That's just me. It's just the way I am. I think the general populace is fucking stupid. But that's just kind of the way people are. I'm reminded of the line in Men in Black where he's like, a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals. And this is kind of it. It's like, people are stupid. A person is smart. People are dumb. Everybody's fucking stupid in some way or another. I graduated with honors. I have a fucking IQ through the roof. I'm still a fucking dumbass. I am. I'm the first person to openly admit I am a fucking genius and I'm a fucking dumbass. But that's me. I'm funny that way. I have a sense of humor about myself. I take myself seriously without taking myself seriously. But everybody is their own person. Everybody has their own opinions. Everybody has their own thoughts. Everybody should be able to express what they think and what they feel without being attacked for it, but without attacking everybody else's views. You know what I mean? And too many people go out there and think that their freedom of expression means that they can sit there and shit on everybody else's freedom of expression. Like, just because you have the right to go out there and express your feelings and your views and your opinions does not mean that you have a right to sit there and shit on somebody else. And I mean, it's for political, fucking social, religious, whatever reason you have. Look, whatever your views are on any given thing, you have the right to express that. You don't have the right to be an asshole about it. You don't have the right to sit there and say that because I feel this way, you're a fucking moron. If I'm going to call somebody stupid, I'm just going to call somebody stupid. Not because I'm not going to sit there and say you're stupid because you believe in this thing. You are a murdering motherfucker because you believe in the Second Amendment. No. I believe in gun rights and all that, but I don't want a fucking gun in my house, in my store. When I was a restaurant manager, I put fucking signs up saying no guns in my store. I believe in gun rights. I'm totally fine with that. I live in Arizona. This is an open carry state. I'm perfectly content with somebody having a gun sitting out in their, like, tucked into their fucking jeans. That's legal here. I'm perfectly cool with that. But if you're in my restaurant, I don't want you having a gun. My personal feelings. No, I'm not going to infringe upon your rights. I'm not going to hate on you for carrying a gun. My brother fucking carries a gun. My two of my little brothers carry guns and shoot on a regular basis. My dad spends his fucking Social Security money collecting guns. I don't care. But I personally have been held at gunpoint. I'm a little squeamish around guns. That's just me. I'm not going to allow my views on anything infringe on your fucking views or on your opinions or your personal belief structure, because that's not right of any person to do. And I said like 10 minutes ago this is supposed to be a funny show, and this week is not a really funny week. But it's less ranty than the last show I skipped, so I don't want to not do the show this week. It's just kind of me. I'm sure this would be a lot funnier if I had somebody else to talk to, and I really do need to work on that. Some of the funniest people I know are my family. Really. And a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people say that. I come from a really fucked up family. We're all pretty weird. We all have a really fucked up sense of humor. And we always joke in my family that when you add siblings, you multiply the crazy exponentially. We have family game nights where you would think everybody was drunk off their asses, and we're just sitting there drinking coffee and playing apples to apples or something, and it's just fucking crazy. You'd think we were all drunk, but we're not. We're just that silly when we're together, and we just have so much fun, and it's crazy. So I want to get some more people, more of my family. My wife fits in with the family really well. She's just nervous on the mic. But I want to get more people in here just to have fun with on the show. Because in this show and the way that I do this, it's just me having fun. It's just me putting on a microphone and talking about whatever the fuck I'm going to talk about. And that's what's fun to me, and that's what I like about doing this, and that's what I like about sharing it with you guys, is you get a taste of me and my life and my thought process and the scatterbrainedness that is my thought process. But that is what I want here. This is just my outlet to talk, and it's not even one of those. It's like, oh, I like hearing the sound. I fucking hate the sound of my voice. Everybody who does this hates the sound of their voice. My wife says it every week. She hates the sound of her voice, but it's all that you don't know what you really sound like. personally this week. I think I sound like I'm in a helicopter or something. I sounded worse a few minutes ago. I had a fan going in this room. I'm sweating my ass off right now because there was a fan blowing because it's hot in here, because the heater's on in the house because it's like 30 degrees outside, except I'm in a tiny little room and everything's closed off, and I turned off the fan because the heater was pumping, but it was getting all this noise and shit in here, and so I turned off the fan. I'm sweating my ass off in here because I'm in a nice wood fucking floored room with lights on and shit, and I'm dying. But it's for you. I do it for you. My suffering is for you to listen to my bullshit for the last 45 minutes. That being said, I think I'm going to cut us off tonight because it's been fun. I love doing this. I love coming out here every week, and spreading my bullshit to those of you willing to listen. But that's going to be the show for this week. I want to remind you again, I've actually snuck it in there a couple of times, to follow me on Twitter at OddDadOut. Follow me, Facebook.com/OddDadOut. The webpage where you can find all of the old shows is oddadout.wordpress.com. I'm still working on trying to get the oddadout.com up and running. I'm hopefully will be able to get that up along with the show for my wife and I that's coming soon. Remember, subscribe, rate, review, all that shit on iTunes and Stitcher and all those other places where you can do those sort of things, or just tell your friends. I think that's a lot more efficient. Like, you listen, tell your friends so that they pull it up on their phone. You know, whatever you want to do. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. Thank you for listening. I'm Adam Higgins, the Odd Dad Out. Thank you and good night.